All right, J. Scotty St. Clair here for the Stranded Panda Podcast Network, reporting live from DragonCon 2024 in Atlanta, Georgia, where I have a couple of Georgia natives here, the duo of Star Wars Explained, Alex and Mollie Damon. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for being here. How's it going?
It's good. Is this your first con? DragonCon?
This is my first DragonCon, not my first con.
Yeah. It's, I by default just say con for because DragonCon was our first con. So to me, it's just the con.
Sure. I know you have a long-standing history with this con, but how many cons is this for you?
I think it's 15.
I think this is number 15 for us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
We've been going for a long time.
And what are your impressions of this con so far? Does it seem like it's going to be up there in the upper echelon of...
This has been a really good year. You know, the past couple of years, it's been ramping back up since COVID, and so far this year's been really, really fun.
Well, it's funny that, today is the first official day of the convention, but we were all here yesterday, and we went to Mosh Isley last night and had an amazing time, so I'm like, that was maybe my favorite Thursday we've ever had.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We've been staying in the hotels, even though we are local, for several years, but we just started staying in the Marriott the past 3 or 4 years, and it's been a game changer. It's so great.
Duly noted. We'll take notes for next year. But just to give you a little bit of background of Stranded Panda, we are a podcast network that covers pretty much everything that qualifies as geeky. So we have a special interest for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but the one area that we are kind of lacking is Star Wars. So for some of our watchers and listeners that may not be familiar, can you tell us a little bit about Star Wars Explained and what it is you do?
Yeah, we actually started the channel because of DragonCon.
Oh, wow.
They have a Star Wars trivia competition every year, and I would attempt to win it many years in a row, and I would fail, and I was like, if I just studied. And so the YouTube channel was initially a way to help me study.
Okay.
But yeah, we just cover all Star Wars stuff, whether it's obviously a movie or a TV show, but also the books and the comics and the video games. So we just try to keep up with all of it and remember it all and tell people how it all connects and works together.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it started out as more of a passion project and like you said, to study for trivia, but over the years it really picked up a lot of steam and we're like, oh wow, this could be something.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about that journey as an independent YouTuber that's working within an established IP? I know initially you kind of started with the Star Wars Minutes, but as you've learned and grown, what has that kind of process been like, and how much feedback are you taking from your audience and their reception versus the passion you've talked about, what you really want to do with the channel?
Well, yeah, when I started with the Minute thing, it was to study and just kind of get through things quickly.
Sure.
But also at the time, YouTube was full of videos that were very long, and I was like, I don't have time to watch a 45-minute video, as interesting as it sounds. So I was like, I feel like something shorter is needed in the space. And then YouTube was like, we don't really want short content. We want longer content. So I shifted into the Star Wars Explained. Made longer content. And in the past couple years, YouTube's like, you know what? We actually want minute-long stuff. And I was like, where were you in 2015 when that's what I was doing?
Exactly.
Yeah, when they started doing shorts, we were like, okay, well, this is just Star Wars Minute again.
I was 6 years early.
Well, it's like George Lucas said, the poetry just repeats itself, right? You find yourself back to where you started. Shifting gears here a little bit, I did watch some of the recent videos you put out on the channel, and I noticed the review for Star Wars Outlaws, which is actually available today for the public. So I know you said you got through roughly 14 hours in your playtime. Have you been able to play any more? It sounded like you said you were just kind of getting the tip of the iceberg there.
By now I'm at 24 hours, and it says I'm 85% of the way completed with the game. So I can tell in the story I'm in the end game. But yeah, I'm having to take a little break for the weekend. And I am a little bit I wish I had pushed a little harder to finish it. I want to know what happens next.
Okay. Cool. Well, I know we got a fair amount of gamers that do tune into our podcast and channel. So maybe if you could give a spoiler-free piece of advice, your number one tip going into Star Wars Outlaws as people are finally able to get their hands on it.
Use Nyx and use him often.
That
was something we got to go to the preview event and play it for 4 hours, and I just forgot to use Nyx, and he does so much. And is so helpful. It's basically like you're controlling two characters. So
yeah, he can do little distractions, or you can send Nyx off to like turn things on or off for you, which is it's really nice in a stealth game.
Every time I've been stuck and been like, I know there's something to do in this room, I just don't know what. If you hold up on the D-pad, Nyx will like highlight everything that is interactable.
Okay.
And I'll be like, oh, there's what I need to do next.
So they function pretty similarly to BD2 from the Jedi Survivor game, right?
Very similar, but Nyx just does a lot more. Yeah.
Okay, good. Glad to hear that evolution there. Changing gears here a little bit, let's talk about some of the live-action ongoings in Star Wars. And I feel like the big point of discussion in the discourse is the Acolyte, but one of my favorite nuggets that has come out recently is the news that Keanu Reeves was originally approached to play Master Soul. That didn't pan out, but it sounds like he still has a vested interest in wanting to appear in the galaxy far, far away. So if that's the case, do you have any characters do you think he would be ideal for? Is there a certain time period you'd want to see him play in Star Wars?
He's a very popular fan cast for Revan.
I've heard that, yes.
Just because the canon from Star Wars Legends version of him just kind of matches. If you look at the old picture, you're like, yeah, I can see it.
Sure.
I don't know. Like, I guess I would want Keanu to kind of be his own character and make his own mark in Star Wars. Also, Revan is a character that everyone who played KOTOR has a different relationship with. So, like, I don't know that there is a canon version of Revan, because everyone plays them differently.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Revan is a woman.
Yeah.
That's my canon Revan. But I would love to see Keanu play a Sith in the Old Republic. Maybe not necessarily Revan, but I think he would make a great Sith.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah. I'd like to see that gear from him. We do have him coming up as Shadow in Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Oh, yeah.
So I think
he's
got
having his dark turn.
Yeah, that's right. His heel turn. All right. Well, I did want to, before we get out of here, definitely take the opportunity to talk a little bit about your trivia acumen and accomplishments there. So remind me, how many years have you been the champ here at DragonCon for the Star Wars trivia competition?
2 years in a row.
Okay.
I've won it 3 times total.
Okay.
I've come in third place and a few runner-ups.
Okay.
Since then.
And this is also 12 times doing it, so it's not like I win it every time I go out.
Well, it used to be Canon and Legends, like way back when, and it was so much harder because they could pull from just about anything. Now, thankfully, they've narrowed it to just canon stuff, which is still anything that's canon, books, comics, shows, movies.
I know Kevin J. Anderson is here at the con this weekend, and his tales from, whether it was Tales from Jabba's Palace or Tales from the Bounty Hunters were some of my favorites. So I would love to see some of those get adapted into the now canon. Are there any legend stories out there that you would want to see incorporated into the canon as it stands now?
My go-to answer is the Darth Bane trilogy.
Okay.
I love those books. And Darth Bane is a canon character. It's just not like the story of how he became the creator of the Rule of Two.
Okay.
And I think those books by Drew Karpyshyn are just awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. I didn't really get too much into Legends stuff, but I'm also interested in how they could pick back up the story of Darth Bane, just because he is a canon character, but his story just hasn't really been explored in canon yet.
Sure. It seems slowly but surely we're starting to see what that early days of the Sith looked like. We did have, spoilers for the Acolyte, but Plagueis popped up for just a moment. So I think the appetite for more Sith is definitely out there. But to bring it back to the trivia for a second, the movie Trivia Schmodown, I imagine a lot of people on YouTube that are fans that are probably here at DragonCon in attendance are familiar with this movie competition. So in that spirit, I wanted to pose a trivia question of my own. And we have a podcast on the network called Multiverse News, and we like to do little plays on words. So we also have Multiverse Reviews, where we review new movies and stuff like that. But I'm introducing a new segment called Multiverse Cues, where I want to ask trivia questions. So I'll ask a couple here. I'll give you a kind of a softball to start off with. But
okay, good.
All right. So there's a sound clip that is featured in many, many films, as well as all of the Star Wars films.
The Wilhelm scream?
The Wilhelm scream, correct. Correct. All right. So now I'm going to take it outside of Star Wars and really challenge you here. But how confident do you feel about Marvel?
When I was in the Inner Geekdom side of the Schmodown, I felt pretty good about it.
Okay.
So, I've seen all the movies several times. And I have studied them for the Schmodown, so
I'm pretty rusty.
I'm not Star Wars confident, but
okay.
75%.
All right, well, we won't hold it against you, but this one is a deep cut. This is going to go. I'll give you a hint. It comes from Iron Man 2.
Okay.
In Iron Man 2, where Sam Rockwell's Justin Hammer is interacting with Ivan Vanko, played by Mickey Rourke, he mentions a dish that he has had specially ordered. Do we remember the name of that dish?
Chicken Parmesan.
No, you're in the right wheelhouse, though.
All I remember about their interactions is his bird.
His bird.
Oh, yeah.
Salmon Carpaccio. Salmon Carpaccio is the answer, so.
No, that's a Star Wars level question.
Yeah, for sure.
That might have been somewhere deep in our Marvel notes at one point when you were in the Inner Geekdom Schmodown.
I'm immediately making Star Wars connections though, and being like, okay, well, what dish does Dryden Voss offer Beckett?
Oh yeah,
when they're on the
Colo Clawfish.
Yeah. What was it?
Colo Clawfish.
Colo Clawfish. I'm storing that one away. All right. Well, I think that's everything that I had planned to ask you all. So again, thank you so much for your time. For our watchers and listeners, where can they find you on the interwebs and what you're doing out there?
Our main place is on YouTube, Star Wars Explained. We're on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and Patreon and all that stuff.
Everywhere Star Wars Explained.
Cool. Any big particular projects people should keep their eye out for?
I've been having a lot of fun going through all the movies because we've been doing this for 10 years. Mollie had this great idea to just do an FAQ series. So I've been picking 40 questions that I've seen over and over again for the past 40 years. And I'm doing 40 questions for every movie. Mm-hmm. And I think Revenge of the Sith just came out. So the sequels are on their way, and then we'll do Rogue One and Solo. And then we'll probably keep going with the Clone Wars and the animated series and stuff.
And those are fun because we can break them up per question and then put those out as shorts or reels on Instagram and TikTok and all that.
Evergreen content.
Yeah.
Has there been a favorite movie that you've done so far, and is there one that you're looking forward to for those 40 questions?
I think my favorite one to do, I have just about finished all of them. They're just scheduled to come out over the next while, but The Phantom Menace just had the weirdest, most fun questions to answer. I really liked making that one.
You got to do a lot of pod racer questions for that one too, which is always fun.
I love that, yeah. Phantom Menace holds a special place in my heart. I was 9 years old when it came out. So.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Stranded Panda. Check him out. Check us out. Enjoy the con.
Hey, thanks for listening to Multiverse News, or watching it, or whatever you're doing. Eyeballs or ear holes, whichever thing. We do this show every week, and we appreciate you listening. StrandedPanda.com is where you can find all of our podcasts. And thank you for listening. Check us out wherever you get podcasts. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the little bell icon, whatever you have on whatever service you're doing. Rate us, like us. We're really thirsty. That's what I'm saying.